Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank Steve Healy, Dr. Keller, Congressman Fitzpatrick for taking the time to come, and of course, thank you, Bob, for emceeing and the amazing Exceptions Band. Congressman Fitzpatrick, I think it's only fair if I warn you. Those of you in this room will be sure to agree with me when I tell you that we're going to hold you to your word. I promise you. So thank you for stepping up to the challenge. Thank you. Looking out at all of you, it's so very overwhelming to think about the things that Storm the Heavens has been able to accomplish. And we've accomplished it because of all of you. Technically, we are in the infancy stage of an organization, yet we are currently in the second year of a 2-year, $322,000 research project that Dr. Keller explained to all of you earlier. It's a project that's collecting very important information as to how we can possibly attract these cells and safely remove them. We're so proud to be able to fund this project in its entirety, but we couldn't do that with all of you. So thank you. In addition to the Philomena project, last June, Storm the Heavens Fund joined the DIPG Collaborative as a foundational partner. As Steve Healy explained to you earlier, the DIPG Collaborative is a pioneer in DIPG research, funding over $10 million since its inception, $10 million of DIPG-specific research. That's roughly $10 million more in DIPG research than our government has funded. It is pioneering the DIPG registry, a database of vital information about these children, information about the tumors, that without that information, a cure could never be possible. And we are so proud to partner with the DIPG Collaborative, and we're committed to increasing our contributions every year. But again, we couldn't do any of this without all of you. And most recently, we were contacted by Alex's Lemonade. Alex Scott, the inspiration for Alex's Lemonade, lost her battle to neuroblastoma. And in her honor, Alex's Lemonade funds research for pediatric cancer, all types of pediatric cancer, including DIPG. And they asked us if we would be willing to partner up with DIPG-specific research. And of course we said yes, but we could never do that without all of you. Have I mentioned that we're just getting started? So thank you so much. And we really are. And so we really are doing better than we were. But we have so much more to do. We have to do better. Just a few weeks ago, January 28th, was the 57th anniversary of Karen Armstrong's death. Karen was the 2-year-old daughter of astronaut Neil Armstrong and his wife, Janet. Karen died of DIPG when she was just 2 years old. 57 years later, and children diagnosed with DIPG are given the same exact standard treatment that Karen was given 57 years ago. We must do better. Parents of children diagnosed with DIPG today are told the exact same thing that Neil and Janet were told. Go home and make memories, because your child would likely not be here in a year's time. We must do better. 7 years after Karen died, we put her father on the moon. He literally walked on the moon. And we can't give our suffering children better treatment options than we did 57 years ago? We must do better. Every single year in the United States alone, they estimate that 300 to 400 children are diagnosed with DIPG. Personally, I would be willing to bet that that number is an understatement. But nonetheless, At least 300 to 400 children every year in the United States are given a death sentence. In essence, every single day, children are suffering and dying in the greatest country in the entire world. And there is no outrage. There's no demand for change. Could you imagine the difference if 300 to 400 children were killed by an AR-15 every year in the United States alone? Could you imagine the outrage, the demand for justice, the demand for change? And rightfully so. But what makes a child lost to cancer's life any less worthy of change or outrage or justice? We must do better. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Every day, 48 children in the United States is diagnosed with some form of cancer. 1 out of 8 of them will not survive. We sent Philomena's tumor to Dr. Keller for genetic testing, and they can't find anything to indicate that her tumor was caused by something she inherited. That means that it was a random act that can happen to any of us at any time, anywhere. It's time to be their voice. In 2019, according to the National Institute of Health, $488 million was allocated to pediatric cancer research. Keep in mind that there are dozens of categories of pediatric cancer and countless subtypes. All of them combined received $488 million. And if you really want your head to explode, dig into the details. You will see line item after line item simply labeled administrative or project management. The accountant in me wants to scream, but $488 million went to all pediatric cancers combined. And even though brain cancer is the #1 cause of disease-related death in people under the age of 20, it gets a minuscule percentage of that $488 million. We have to do better. And I want to be very clear when I tell you that we believe that all cancer research is important, without exception. We would never stand up here and say otherwise. But there is not one form of adult cancer that is worthy of more than all pediatric cancers combined. Not one. Our kids come first. That's it. I don't care what kind of cancer it is. I don't care what celebrity has ever had it. Our kids come first, period. But only 4% of our cancer funding budget goes to our kids. That means that 96% goes to adults. In 2018, an estimated $755 million went to fund breast cancer. Again, breast cancer is very important. With that said, it comes with a survival rate of over 89%. And there's not a mother on this planet that would ever tell you to spend nearly twice as much trying to save her life as you do trying to save the lives of her children. We must do better. And there is no question that we all want a cure. That goes without being said. A cure comes with so much more than just writing a check. Yes, of course, we can't possibly fund a cure without actually funding a cure. But we have to do more. Because no matter how great we are in number as we wish this thing away, as long as we remain silent, we will be irrelevant. It is time to be relevant in the fight for our children's right to grow up to be adults. We all need to use our voice. Our voice is our most powerful weapon. And if we couple that with our actions as we lead by example and spread awareness, we can be unstoppable. We can be the end of cancer treatment as we know it. And if you don't believe me, let's look back a few years after Karen's death to the civil rights movement. Look at Dr. King, one voice, who led by example, and he changed the world. Do you want to think about what the world would have been like had he not had the courage to use his voice? Because that's where we are in the world of pediatric cancer. Our children are waiting. They're waiting for your voice, for our voice. Because we have to acknowledge, guys, what we've been doing and how we've been doing it, it's not working. We got to do something else. If it means that we march, if it means that we knock on our elected officials' doors, if we go to Washington and we demand it, we have to do what we have to do because our children are waiting. And I'm going to end tonight talking about Julia. She is a local little girl that has been battling DIPG since August of 2017. She was diagnosed when she was just 6 years old. She's one of at least 9 children in the Philadelphia area that was diagnosed between July of 2016 and October 2017. She is at the end of her life. They told her parents days, maybe weeks. Look at her face. Everything that she could have been and should have been. It's worthy of outrage. It's worthy of change. All the dreams that her parents had for her, they deserve a voice. Now look around this room, all the pictures of Mina, everything she could have been and should have been, and all of our dreams for her. It's worthy of a voice. It's worthy of outrage. It's worthy of so much more than that. And think for just 1 second. Change that face to any child that you know, any child that you love. It can happen. Be their voice. Be their voice so that if, God forbid, it ever happens to you, you have a chance. These kids, they never had a chance. And it's disgusting. What does it say about us as a society that we continue to allow this to happen? Could you imagine if we cared as much about our suffering children as we did whether or not our president had an affair? Could you imagine what we could accomplish? Where are our priorities? These kids' faces should be all over the news, not the trash we throw up there. We must do better. We all must do better. And I ask you to please join us. There's no greater love than the love a parent has for their child. And we're all called to treat each other the way that we would want to be treated. Fight like she was yours. Thank you.